Hey friends, it's Simone. I'm so glad you're here today. I am doing my currently inked video. It's time. I don't necessarily film one of those currently inked videos every month, and definitely not at the beginning of the month, just when I feel like I need to change it up. Some inks have run dry in my pen because I've written with it so much. Some just don't work for me, and so now is the time to rethink the whole thing. This is a Nolty Efficiency notebook. It's a pocket size. I started using it as a making diary in the beginning of the year, and then at some point I switched over to record which pens I used on what days. And I usually just write the pen make, the nib size, and then the ink name. I started then a bit later. I started writing a quick comment after using the pen on the right side of the page on what I like or what I don't like about it, how I feel after this writing session. Sometimes my writing sessions are a bit longer, sometimes they are shorter. It doesn't really matter. It's still really interesting to look back on what I like, what I don't like about the ink, about the pen. And so I really enjoy using this. I plan on using a Hobonichi Weeks in 2023, but I really like having this planner here in this specific layout for that purpose. I have used fountain pens a total of 20 days in September. I started actually counting it. And so just as a reference, this is very normal for me. In June, I only had 9 days of journaling. In July, 22, August, 19, September, 20. And since October isn't done yet, I'm not putting that down yet. But this is the beginning of the month, so I have used a fountain pen and journaled with a fountain pen almost every day since the beginning of the month. Today is the 11th. I think you will see this video next week. But yeah, I really love having this. In the back, I put ink swap ideas for the ink swap. And then in July, I started putting down thoughts on what pens are empty. Do I want to keep this pen, or not which pens are empty, but which ones I am going to empty out and what I'm going to keep to move over. And then it has morphed into this after pen show ink thoughts. And then this is my October ink thoughts. I documented new pens. And this is where I'm at today. Before I'm diving into the review of the past month, I want to show you where I keep my fountain pens that are currently inked. This is a SINCLAIR Model R, a collaboration of Rickshaw and NockCo. There is a tag right back here. And I purchased this at the San Francisco Pen Show, and this is an amazing pen case. I recently ordered another color combination just because I wanted to. And I can't wait until it gets here, but this is where I keep my pens in here. I put the ones that I don't want to get scratched into the 3 pen slots, and then everything else just goes here. Yeah, so this is what is currently looking at you. And I'm not going to review all of them because not all of them started out in the beginning of this month. And I think what I'm going to do is just grab my gallon leather pen case, because that is really nice to stack it up all over here. So the other thing that I would like to talk to you about is a super amazing website that has been mentioned when I introduced and hosted the ink swap that is actually already over and it went really well. I have just swatched my inks that I received from my swatch partner. Somebody asked about Fountain Pen Companion, and so I have heard about that website before. I never really went to check it out, but after it was mentioned in the comments of the video where I talked about the ink swap, I decided to check it out for myself, and wow, that is such an amazing site. And you should definitely check it out for yourself. So this is what I had inked in the month of September, or from September 14th to October 11th. It is a total of 12 pens. This one I am going to keep as a permanently inked pen, so I will not share it in future videos, but even though it's the one on the bottom, this was the most surprising discovery this past month. It is the TWSBI Eco Lilac in an extra fine nib, and I inked it up with platinum carbon black. I am reaching for this pen constantly. This and the Hobonichi pen, which is a uni Jetstream, are the pens that I am using most. If I'm not writing in my planner, then I'm using this for quick notes, jotting down things on different papers. It writes smoothly and perfectly well every time I reach for it. It's wow. So this was a surprise, absolutely amazing. I had inked up Franklin Christoph Model 45, the SIG medium nib with Diamine Writer's Blood. It is, I love every aspect of this pen. The shape, everything works really well. I loved all of this. This was the TWSBI Eco Glow in the Dark Green with a B nib. I purchased that at the San Francisco Pen Show. It was the first time that I'm using a B nib from TWSBI, and I inked it up with Robert Oster Coffee Date. And I don't know what to think about this. So I had expected a wet flow. The light ink was destined to be a great shader, but it had hard starts. It didn't really write well. It was wet. So I am going to, even this is also all the way down now, the plunger, so maybe it's not enough ink. Usually when I ink up TWSBIs, they are writing really nicely just right from the start. This was weird. I used it last night and decided, okay, it's just going. It doesn't really make sense for me to continue using it. I used it last night, and this is what it wrote like when I started writing it with it, and then I just turned the piston a bit, and it was a bit wetter, and then it looked like this, and this is how I expected it to look like all the time, but it just wasn't that. So what I will do is unink this, and then I'm gonna floss the tines and just look at the nib under a loop. Maybe I'll just look at it to see if something's misaligned or there's baby's bottom. Who knows? I don't know. I will see what was wrong with this, and then we'll figure it out from there. Maybe it's gonna come back in November. This was perfect. I love this ink in this pen. It's definitely a combination that I can have reoccur at a later date. That worked perfectly. This is a double broad nib, even though it looks finer than the broad from the TWSBI. The pen ink was Ferris wheel press buttered popcorn. I have written it dry. It's all gone. I already cleaned the pen. I put shading love and flow love. It there was nothing to complain about this, which is really surprising, given the fact that I was already ready to give up the buttered popcorn and rehome it because I just didn't like it in the pen that I had it for the first time, which is a really great learning experience for me, that sometimes an ink and a pen just don't work well together, and it's not necessarily the ink or the pen that are the problem, it's the combination that is the problem. So I have started to stop saying I don't like this. I am going to say I don't like this combination and I will give this another try. Sometimes I know, oh no, this shade or this specific color is not a thing for me, and then I will definitely rehome it, but I will play with inks more than just in one pen. This is the Pilot Metropolitan Retro Pop Red Cursive not cursive medium, that's exactly wrong. It's a calligraphy medium nib, a great cheap way to get started with specialty nib grinds that are not super expensive, that are not custom. My writing experience was very smooth when I find the sweet spot, but that is a very, it's there, but if I just steer from it ever so slightly, it starts getting scratchy. I dragged it over some micro mesh and it works much nicer now. The ink I still love. If this is ever empty, I will just repurchase a bottle. This is one of my favorite greens in this shade, and I don't think anything else compares. It's always, yeah, but Altgoldgrün. This is the Pelicano Junior A Anfängernib, inked with Lamy Tourmaline. The pen is super wet and juicy. The color is the bomb. I purchased a bottle of this ink, and what else can I say? This definitely a successful combination. Then the Lamy Safari with a 1.1 stub nib. This is one of the fails. I have two right after the other. Now I can't find these two. No, this one and this one. I inked those, put those into pens, and then after I realized they were both actually shimmer inks. I don't know if you can see that here. But since I didn't really know, and there wasn't a lot of shimmer in this ink for sure, in this sample, there's more in this one. I didn't agitate the ink before I inked up my pens. There's no shimmer in either of those cartridges, so it's basically a shimmer fail. This ink is stunning. The shading is amazing. And to my surprise, many of my Lamy pens are have very dry feeds. If the ink isn't wet and flows nicely, it's a struggle. But this ink in that pen worked absolutely well. So yay, 2 thumbs. This one again, there's no shimmer in this ink. The medium nib is very, very broad. I knew that going in. I wanted to give it a try and see how I liked it now that I haven't used it for a while. I got used to the medium nib. I really enjoy the broad medium nib here, but what I don't really enjoy is when an ink is too sheeny, and that is definitely the case with this ink. So yeah, nah. This one was okay. It just wasn't a wow effect, given that other inks in this rotation were I was so drawn to those that it was like I had to, I haven't used this in a while, let me use it. And you can see the fill is still, there's a lot of ink still in this pen. It definitely has a place, but I don't know. I often have that problem with these blues. I don't know, even though This is definitely one of my favorite colors, and I just got the Cerulian blue TWSBI Eco. I love that color, but the regular, I struggle with blues. Same thing for the Pilot E95S. Yeah, it feels like a very elegant pen. I don't feel like I'm an elegant person, so it kind of clashes with me, but I still a very nice writing experience. So I want to use something else in this pen because again, nice ink. Yeah. This was amazing with a medium nib. When I met my friend Amy, I switched it out for the SIG Extra Fine that she had purchased from Franklin Christoph and that she didn't really like. So she let me have it so I could test and play with it. It's interesting for sure. My handwriting is so much tinier than with other nibs because I can't, like, this doesn't work. Let me see if I can find here. This is, no, that's the medium. Haha, JK. Here, this is the SIG Extra Fine. Look at how big my handwriting is compared to this, or this here, for instance. This is the bioluminescence, this is the Extra Fine. Wow, what a difference. But after I got used to, I just can't have these expressive loops. It worked really well, and the judgment is still out. That's why there's a minus. It is interesting, and I want to play with it some more. And what else can I ask of a nib and a pen? This, yeah, I guess I don't gravitate towards blacks or grays, similarly as I don't gravitate towards boring blues. So I use this. I love how bouncy the nib is, but I think maybe I need to put in another color, something. So of those, I will clean this. This one's already clean. Let me check where my list is so I don't tell you anything wrong. I'll keep the Pilot Metropolitan. I'll clean out this one. I am cleaning out this one. I am cleaning this one, and this one. I think. Yep. So this was a last minute decision because I just couldn't deal with it, and this one's already clean. So I am going to leave these three. However, I do have two new pens that are already inked up. These two, I will show those to you when I'm coming back with all the pens that I have inked. Okay, so this is the color palette that I had inked in my last rotation. I have noticed there were way too many pens inked up. It just didn't work. I just had too many choices, to be completely honest. I couldn't get a really good feel for the pen ink combination because there were just so many. When I wrote 20 days in September, so if I have 12 pens inked, I'm not even going to use each pen twice. That's just not enough. And then plus I also got two new additions here. So that was the height of this, and that's the reason why I decided it needs to change right now. So I am scrapping this. This one's empty. This one I'm scrapping. This one I'm scrapping. This one, this one, this one, this one. Just because this one I really love, but the Monteverde Horizon Blue is similar. the blues on the camera are just not the same as they are in real life. There is a difference between these two. This one is more yellow than this one. I'm scrapping Lamy Tourmaline because I want to use another ink that I have. I am scrapping this one. I wasn't really that happy with it. Not wow, not wow, not wow. So it's time to just introduce other colors. And also it's fall, y'all. So it's going to go down like that. I'm gonna have this one, and then I'm going to have Ancient Copper, the fall color that I have purchased last year. I want to use this in October for sure. I am going, instead of the coffee date, I'm going to have a very colorful, bright yellow. This is Rohrer&Klingner Helianthus. Then I'm gonna have this Altgoldgrün because favorites, and so I want to use the Cheerio Waterbus. I want to use the Monteverde Horizon Blue. I just said that earlier. And then I have, how is this going down now? Black Violet is basically maybe like so. Theoretically, you go from red through yellow, green, blue to violet. But I can't really tell if this has more red than, I guess this has more blue-ish hints, even though it's lighter. I think that's how this is going to go down. I reduced the amount of inks I have to 9 again, because I feel like that's a good amount of inks I can handle. That also means that I don't have to take care of or count out the spaces I have, because 9 always fit. So I said earlier that today is October 11th, 2022. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see better. Then Franklin Christoph Model 45. And the color is Diamine. Blood. This is a stub italic gradient nib. That's a specialty by Franklin Christoph. It has wider downstrokes than narrower cross strokes. I just want to write more with this because it's such a fun nib and pen. The next pen and ink that I have is the Platinum Pilot Custom 74 with a medium nib. This was my very first gold nib. It has it's inked up with, let me just write this first, Pilot Custom 74, medium, 14K, and then the ink is Diamine, Ancient Copper. This is definitely one of my all-time favorite inks. I like how this goes into this, works with this pen. I would say if I wanted to match the ink and the pen, then I would have to use writer's blood. But I like how this looks in this pen. I inked this up specifically because I have a new pen. And I want to compare both in writing. Then, I always open this up before I talk about it. This is the Kaweco AL Sport Golden Espresso. It's was one of my first Grail pens. I was able to acquire it. I switched out the nib to an M nib because that's definitely a choice for me that works well most of the time. I have inked this one up with, surprise, not what you would expect, right? Kaweco AL Sport with a golden espresso, with a medium nib, and inked in this is Rohrer&Klingner Helianthus. And this is definitely a very bright yellow, a deep yellow, almost leaning orange, but just as a comparison, this one is the Ferris wheel press buttered popcorn. So it's not the same, but wow, bright. I love it. I can't wait to actually write a full text with this. Then this is the Pilot Metropolitan with it. I think this is called Retro Pop, and it's the red version of it. This is a calligraphy medium nib, and I inked this with ta-ta. It's still the same as last month. So this is Pilot Metropolitan Retro Pop red calligraphy medium nib, and the ink is Rohrer&Klingner Altgoldgrün. I like the sound this makes. Then here is a new ink, and you can actually see what this is. This is not a shimmer ink, but it's I think this, what you would say is pigment particles inside. I made a swatch. I showed or shared this in a swatch video. I will link it. This is, well, first of all, this is the TWSBI Eco T. I don't know what the green is. Let's just say apple green. And the nib is a medium nib. I wanted a medium nib so maybe I can see the pigment on the writing. Didn't want the broad nib because I still need to work on that, as I told you earlier. But I just wanted to see if I can see the blue pigment, what it would do. And the ink is called Pennonia. And that's a collaboration with Inkdependence. And the ink color is Cheerio Waterbus. Again, it's pretty similar to, or not similar, but it's in the same color family, color scheme as the Lamy Tourmaline. So I decided I'm uninking that, especially since I do have a bottle now, so I'm not too worried about not having that. And this is one of my newest acquisitions. It's not the newest, but one of the newest is the TWSBI Eco Cerulian Blue. Favorite color for sure. Doesn't come across as pretty as it is in real life. There is more yellow in this, so it has a bit of a green tint to it. But yeah, love it. This is, let's do the ink swatch in the front like so. So I'm going to write the pen name with this grind. So this is the TWSBI Eco Cerulian and this is a, I'll just abbreviate it as RA. It is a reverse architect, and I ground by Pen Realm, which is Kirkspear. And then the ink is Monteverde Horizon Blue. What I notice is that when I use the, I would say extra fine nib that is ground. So this is a reverse architect. I just published a video on the unboxing, and the learnings that I have so far made with this is, so it's a grind that you can use on both sides. So it's reverse. So on the reverse side of the nib, when you write upside down, it is an architect nib. That's what this looks like. The downstrokes in comparison to the SIG medium, or also the calligraphy medium from Pilot, where the downstrokes are wide and the cross strokes are narrow. This is exactly the opposite. The cross strokes are narrow if you actually hold it at the perfect sweet spot, and the cross strokes are wide. And it's architect because that's how people assume architects write, and it's actually true. Architects write. Many architects, especially old school handwriting architects, write like that on their blueprints. The extra fine, ultra extra fine is very, very fine, and it is very scratchy. I have not found the sweet spot sometimes when I write. It does work well when I'm very, very slow, but as soon as I get faster, sometimes when I'm doing an O, it kind of gets stuck on the paper-ish. So I need to figure that out. That's why it's inked. It's new. I want to play with it. I want to experience it. I want to learn what I can and cannot do with this. So that's why it's there. This is another new pen. I will have an unboxing-ish video on my channel soon. Just didn't get it out before I was able to film. I wanted to get this currently inked video out before this one publishes, but this is the Platinum 3776 Century in Laurel Green. I purchased this on Amazon. It was just on my regular Amazon, but it was shipped through Amazon Japan. Oh, okay. It has a medium nib. It's also a gold nib. It's a 14K gold nib, and it is inked with, let me put that down here, Robert Oster. Let me just write the first thing, because if I do that, 3776 Laurel Green, and it's a medium nib, and it's also 14K, and the ink is Robert Oster Black Violet, It essentially seems like a warmish, purplish gray to me. But I'm not complaining. I really like this. I love the pen. It's wow. Wow, wow. That's the reason why I inked up the Pilot Custom 74, because I want to compare them side by side. Definitely it's not a one-on-one comparison because it's not inked with the same color, so there will be differences that I experience that might stem from the color that I inked it with, but I still wanted to see. I was super hesitant to purchase this because I have heard many people say it's a nice nib, but it's very firm, it's not soft, it's different than the Pilot nibs. Of course, it's a different company, but I feared that I wouldn't like it. The nibs that I was able to have access to, or the pen, this pen that I was able to have access to last year, were extra fine nibs. And those were way too fine for me. So I did not pursue getting this. But then the last time I met up with friends, someone brought a medium nib and I loved the writing experience. So when I saw that this was on Amazon Japan for $86, I think, I went ahead and got it. And wow, this might be my new favorite, all-time favorite pen. No, not gonna lie. Which we know that every time I have had very weird new pen day experiences. This one is one of those, for sure, where it just didn't work as I had expected it to work. So this being such a fabulous pen right out of the box made this experience just so much better. Same with this one, actually. And I needed that, wow, this is a great pen, and not, maybe I don't like it as much as I thought I would experience. Same thing. This is an eyedropper pen. It is a Opus 88 mini. I purchased it in July, and this is one of those where I am not sure that this is a pen for me. I purchased it with a broad nib, and this time around I put in Sailor Yozakura, Shikiori Yozakura. I think though that I have had some ink residue in this nib before I inked it up. I didn't know. I thought I had cleaned it thoroughly because maybe it's the right, I feel like it has a green tint to it. So I'm not sure what happened here. So this is the Opus 88 mini or mini pocket. I'm just gonna write mini pocket. It's a broad nib, and the color is Sailor Shikiori Yozakura. And I checked what the ink was that I had in this pen when I got it. This is July. Yeah, purple. So I don't know how I go from there to there. Not sure. I'm curious to see how this performs. Of course, it doesn't really fit into the narrow grid of this insert, but I just, the problem that I'm having with this pen is that it's, I don't know, I can't really grip it nicely, that it feels comfortable in my hand. Maybe that's the reason. So I thought I want this in my fall ink rotation, and so I'm gonna use this and see how it goes. And then let me show you how this SIG extra fine nib works, because it definitely is a surprise to me that I am drawn to this as much as I am. So it's probably gonna be quite hard to get a full color swatch here. And just like the calligraphy medium from Pilot, this one also is scratchy as soon as you're not in the sweet spot. Model 2. And the ink is Sailor Manyo Akebi. And I'm gonna just downstrokes, cross strokes. Let me add that to this one as well. Okay. Let's compare these entries here. I have the Tomoe River 52 GSM MD paper and Cosmo Air Light paper. The first thing that I noticed is that the last times I did this, I left 2 boxes blank. That's why this is so crammed and these look so nicely spaced. I also felt when I was working on those, that I do not like the tiny grids. It's just not for me, especially when I'm using broader pens. It's not so cool. I just am crammed and it's not looking as nice as on here. So I should have probably filmed along when I made those instead of this one. I have not used the TWSBI and the Platinum on anything else but Tomoe River paper. So this was a great new experience for me. This is a nice shader for sure. This one, not so much. You can see some shading right here on the Cosmo Air Light, but it just is super wet in this pen. I'm not sure if it's because I just inked it up or what that reason is for this, but I'm interested in seeing how that continues, especially when you compare this is Rohrer&Klingner and this is Rohrer&Klingner, and both of them, this one shades so nicely, this one not so much. So same happened to me with the Pennonia. It's super wet. I'm curious to see how that is going to turn out in the long run. I'm thinking of, or I had the idea just recently that maybe I should make once I have enough 9 inks, a really nice shading ink rotation. That would be super cool. So this is the Cerulian blue on here. I talked about the pen or the nib catching on the paper. I did not have that with the Cosmo Air Light. Interesting. And then as usual, you can see that the nibs are even finer on the MD paper. They're nice for me, or I like them and I purchased them so that they work best for me on Tomoe River paper. And that's why this is thinner, not so much. I don't like it as much, but interesting enough in this rotation. I enjoy using each of those pens on this paper, and doesn't happen every time. So there's something to be said about the pens and the inks that I chose for this rotation. The Yozakura still looks different than it usually looks. I hope, maybe I'm just gonna flush the nib one more time. And then as you can see, the writing with the SIG Extra Fine nib is super tiny compared to the rest of my handwriting. Today I really enjoyed writing on the Cosmo Air Light and this one. Cosmo Air Light often feels like I'm walking through mud. Did not have that experience today, and also it didn't feel like it was sucking out the ink out of my pens, but well. Which one are you most excited about? What pens are you currently using? And yeah, I don't know what questions to ask. Blah, blah. This is not the best video that I made. For sure, if you're still here after I have rambled and cut this video, then you are definitely the reason that I'm making those videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support my channel, then please head on over to Ko-Fi. You can donate just like that. I also have some stickers on there that you might like. That's also supporting me. I'd really love nothing more than share my passion for all the things that I'm passionate about, and I enjoy that you're watching them. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Until then, bye.